Hey, biology class, it's Miss Butler. This week, we're doing taxonomy and bacteria. This is your notes video. Taxonomy is the science of classifying organisms. So here's why scientists have to have a classification system. What kind of organisms are these? Sea monkeys, ringworms, jellyfish, seahorses. Are they insects, fish, reptiles? So common names have a little bit of confusion because a sea monkey is really a type of shrimp. Ringworm is not a worm at all, it's a fungus. And a jellyfish is not a fish, it's an invertebrate. It has no bones. Seahorses are actually fish, so their common names can be a little misleading. Let's talk about taxonomy. Taxonomy is a system that was developed by a scientist named Carolus Linnaeus. And what he did is he basically gave every organism a Greek and Latin name. He created a system where organisms were placed into a few large groups called kingdoms, and then each kingdom was further divided into smaller groups. Here's the grouping categories for taxonomy. Domain is the largest, broadest group. And then you have kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. If you notice, kingdoms are full of lots of organisms, and the further you go down, the more and more specific you get until you get to the most specific group, which is called a species. Here's the classification or taxonomy for humans. We're in the animal kingdom. This word is in Latin, but it means animal. Animalia kingdom. We're in the Chordata phylum. We're in the Mammalia class, which means we're mammals. We give birth to live young. We feed our young with milk. We have hair. All the way down to our genus and our species. Our genus is Homo and our species is Sapiens. If you notice, when you write the scientific name of an organism, it's always the genus plus the species. So genus comes first and it's capitalized, and then species comes last. So classification into a kingdom is based on certain criteria. This is what scientists look at. They look at how many cells the organism has, how it gets its food. Is it a heterotroph or can it make its own food like an autotroph? And what type of cell does it have? Eukaryotes have a nucleus, or is it a prokaryote with no nucleus? So we're going to start our study at the end of the year of all the kingdoms of life. This week you're learning about two kingdoms, bacteria or eubacteria and archaea, which is another type of bacteria. So bacteria or eubacteria and archaea bacteria, they're both single-celled prokaryotes, which is why we're going to study them together. So they're only made of one cell and they have no nucleus in their cell. Their DNA just floats in the cytoplasm. They can make their own food, or they can get their food from other sources, or here's a new one. Some are chemoautotrophs, which means they get their nutrition from chemicals like sulfur. 1 gram of soil can contain as many as 5 billion bacterial cells, so these are really small. Bacteria and archaea have similar structures. Here's what they're made up of. They're made up of a plasmid, which is a circular piece of genetic material. They're made of, some of them have a flagellum, which is a whip-like tail. Some have pili, which help them attach to surfaces. They have a capsule on the outside for protection. It's like a thick layer. And then under that capsule would be the cell wall. Plant cells have a cell wall also. And then under the cell wall would be the cell or the plasma membrane. Remember, they don't have a nucleus, bacteria and archaea, so their genetic material just floats around in the cytoplasm. Here would be their DNA or their chromosome. How bacteria reproduce is a process called binary fission, and it's an asexual process, which means only one parent is necessary. So basically, a bacterial cell will copy its chromosome, and then it splits by cytokinesis. And again, this is called binary fission. Archaea are really different from the common bacteria you're familiar with. They're similar in structure, but they're different in how they live and how they get their nutrition. These are called extremophiles. They live in really harsh, extreme environments, such as the bottom of the ocean near hydrothermal vents. And they're very different from common bacteria. They're so different that scientists gave them their own domain. So bacteria, I know you know how they're bad. Here's how they're good. They live in digestive systems of animals. About 4 pounds of your body weight is made up of the bacteria that live in your gut. They also help make food by chemically breaking down or ferment things to give flavors. Yogurt, cheese, pickles, sauerkraut, all those tangy foods are made by the help of bacteria. They also play important roles in ecosystems. They're called nature's decomposers. They break down rotten material, and they do something really cool for farmers. They fix nitrogen from the air into nitrogen that plants can use. I know you know that bacteria can be bad. They can invade tissues and they make poisons. A toxin is a poison released by an organism. Tuberculosis is a disease caused by bacteria that affects your lungs, and it kills off your white blood cells. We don't really see people with TB anymore, but it was a very common disease many, many years ago. And then Staphylococcus aureus is another bacterial disease that can be transferred by spoiled food and can give you food poisoning. So if you get a bacterial disease, your doctor will probably tell you to go home and rest, to drink a lot of fluid, maybe take ibuprofen for fever or Tylenol, but they'll also give you antibiotics. And these chemicals will kill the bacteria or slow the growth because it prevents bacteria from making cell walls. You can't take antibiotics for viruses because viruses don't have cell walls. So you only take these for bacterial infections.